What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Understable Discourse, your go-to place for all the best disc golf news, content, whatever you want to call it, out there on the interwebs. We're growing, we're here, we're having a good time, and today we are here to talk about the last actual event of the disc golf calendar year for the Pro Tour, and that is the Disc Golf Pro Tour Matchplay Championship going down in North Carolina. Let's talk about it. So this upcoming weekend, we have the Matchplay Championship, which is throwing down at Hornet's Nest. Yep, Hornet's Nest. For those of you who don't remember or aren't sure or never heard of it before, Hornet's Nest is the course they used for a while for the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship down in the hotbed of disc golf in Charlotte, North Carolina. And let me tell you something. I don't know they could have chosen a better place to finish this out at. Yes, is this another event? Yes, is this in November? Sure. Are these players a little burnout? Maybe. I've seen some of the players talk about how they're actually looking forward to this event because it's match play style. It's a bit different than what they're normally used to doing. And honestly, a return to the Hornet's Nest, in my mind, is worth it. And it's great timing because next year we're going to see Hornet's Nest return to the Pro Tour with the Queen City Classic. So it's a great kind of first look at the course again. For those of people who maybe are new fans in the last year or two of the Pro Tour, may not be familiar with this course. So one of the things I love about Hornet's Nest, and I think what's going to make it a fantastic match play course, is that it is a combination of really tough woods holes, some open park stylish holes, and then some holes that are kind of in between those. And nothing out there screams easy. And one of the best ways I can probably describe to you why this is the way it is if you go over and you see on Ezra Aderhold's YouTube channel and Paul Ulibarri's YouTube channel, they did a practice match play event against each other, Uli versus Ezra Aderhold. Now, if you look at their stats for the year, other than obviously C1X putting, which Uli is one of the best players in the world at, you could say that Uli doesn't really stand up to Ezra Aderhold in terms of general tournament play. But when they did these videos, and I won't spoil the whole thing for you, but a decent ways into the video, they were tied. So Paul Ulibarri, who not arguably throws way less further than Ezra Aderhold, is not as good of a C2 putter as Ezra Aderhold is, and doesn't have just the raw, I would say, distance and a power on the course. But Uli, being a bit of a more technical player, they both had equal opportunities to win holes against each other, whether they were short holes or long holes, because of the way this course is laid out. So it's a perfect place to go to match play, because I don't think that there's any one particular player's skill sets that give them a distinct advantage, so much so over another. Just because you are the best player in the world, I don't think means you automatically are going to win your match, especially at this particular course. So they couldn't have picked a better place. Yes, the time of the year is a little bit janky, and I do have some qualms with the way that the event is structured in a couple different ways, and we'll get into that here. But just to set the table for you, to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at here, at the very beginning of the season, the players were put together into groups, and these groups played matches within themselves. So for MPO, you have Group A, which was Gannon Burr, Anthony Barella, Chris Dickerson, and Luke Humphreys. And in that group, they each played each other, so 3 matches in total. And the 2 best players of every group are being taken into the Matchplay Championship. So through the matches played, both Gannon, Burr, and AB won 2 of their matches, with Gannon tying 1 and AB losing 1. But because they each won 2, they are moving on, and Chris Dickerson and Luke Humphreys are not moving on. Going over to Group B, you have Matty O, Ezra Aderhold, Ricky Wysocki, and Paul Macbeth. Now, this is one of the things that I think is a bit difficult about how they structured this originally. They clearly wanted to have big-time matchups in these divisions, clearly, because you have AB and Gannon in the first group, and you've got Ricky and Paul in the second group, meaning that you automatically got a Ricky versus Paul match in no matter what. But they ran the risk of what happens if one of these guys gets out. Unfortunately, we're seeing the fruits of that, as both Paul and Ricky did not advance to the finals. So both Ezra Aderhold and Matty O move on. Matty O won outright 3-0 across all of his matches. He is a dangerous player coming into this event, and that's why this course is perfect. And then Ezra Aderhold went 1-1-1, along with Ricky, who went 1-1-1. But because in match play, it's not just about winning, but it's how quickly you win. Since Ezra Aderhold won his matches in greater fashion with more holes remaining, he gets the nod, moving on over Ricky does. In Group C for the MPO, you've got Niklas Antala, Ezra Robinson, Adam Hammes, and James Proctor. Niklas Antala went 3-0. He moves on, and Ezra Robinson went 1-1-1, which is better than Adam Hammes' 1-2, and so he moves on as well. So Adam and James Proctor are not in. And the final group, Isaac Robinson, Calvin Heimberg, Joey Buckets, and Simon Lizotte. I think we can all say that we really, really wanted Simon to move on. Unfortunately, he did not. And this group was probably the most even of all the groups. They split. Nobody won 2. And there's a bunch of ties in this group, but Isaac Robinson and Calvin Heimberg move on to the championship for the match play. Going over to the FPO side, you've got Ella Hansen, Holland Hanley, Allie Smith, and Deanne Carey. I hate to say it, but this is kind of where skill, I think, matters a little bit more, because the discrepancy or the disparity between Holland Hanley and Allie Smith and Deanne Carey is large, if we're being honest here. No disrespect to Allie Smith and Deanne Carey, but Holland Hanley is a significantly better player. So Ella and Holland move on. The next group is Owen Scoggins, Katrina Allen, Kat Murch, and Eliezer Midling. Katrina Allen and Owen Scoggins move on. Kat Murch, unfortunately, only winning one of her 3 matches. Next group in the C pool, Missy Gannon, Paige Pierce, Rebecca Cox, and Madison Walker. No surprise, Missy Gannon and Paige Pierce move on. And finally, in the D group, you've got Kristen Lott, Kona Montgomery, Silva Saarinen, and Jessica Weiss. And technically, Kristen Lott and Kona Montgomery should be moving on, but because Kristen has essentially removed herself from events, the nod now goes to Silva Saarinen. So those are the groups you have coming into this, and the way it's going to work is very, very simple. Now that all the players are in there, they have been seeded, and they're matched up in sort of a bracket, and they're asking people to go over to Hold My Bag and fill out brackets, a chance to win some prizes. It's a cool thing, and I like the way this is set up. So you have the matches on Friday. You're going to have 4 matches. Saturday, you're going to have your semifinals, and Sunday, your finals. The one thing I don't like about this, if I'm being fair, is that we are getting consolation matches all the way down to 7th place. No disrespect to anybody. I know we all love to watch disc golf, but there is no reason that we should be watching the match between the 7th and 8th place person trying to go for 7th place. At the very most, maybe a consolation match for 3rd, but there's no reason for us to see the other matches. If they take any screen time away from the championship match, then it is an absolute failure on the production team. There's no, I don't care who's in the match for 7th place. It doesn't matter, even if it's a barn burner. If there's an ace, show us the ace. If there's a crazy throw in eagle, show us that. Otherwise, we should never be cutting over there, because if the point of this is to be the best match play player, we gotta just focus on the championship match. But what we're going to do now is we're going to look at each match, talk about who I think is going to win the match, and then we'll predict some champions. And that's going to be, we're going to call it a day there. So we're going to start with the FPO side. And so I've gone over to Hold My Bag, and I'm doing it on there. On the FPO side, our first 4 matches. Okay, first we have Missy Gannon versus Silva Saarinen. Silva did not play the match play events this year very well. I think that Missy, even though Silva, I think on paper is the better player, overall will long-term be, I think, a more talented player. Missy Gannon is extremely consistent. Her attitude is unflappable, and she has experience playing at Hornet's Nest. So I'm giving the nod to Missy Gannon for the win there. The next match comes between Owen Scoggins and Paige Pierce. And even though Paige has had a couple decent performances this year, the woods has not always been her best strong suit. I'm giving this one to Owen Scoggins. I think she's going to carve up the course and take the win. You got Ella Hansen versus Katrina Allen. I think it's awesome that Katrina Allen made it in here, but Ella Hansen takes the win. And Holland Hanley versus Kona Montgomery. Once again, awesome that Kona made it. I think when she plays her absolute best, she can be competitive with a lot of people. Holland Hanley takes that match, which means going into the semifinals, we have Missy Gannon and Owen Scoggins. And so for me, this is one of the toughest matches to call because I think Missy is an incredibly consistent, talented player. And Owen is, well, she's Owen Scoggins, right? She's very, her putting is some of the best we've ever seen in FPO. And she, I think, meets Missy at Missy's strength. One of Missy's biggest strengths is her, like I said earlier, her unflappable resolve, her charisma, whatever you want to call it. For those youngins out there, the aura she has on the course. She just doesn't ever seem to be having a bad day. And unfortunately for her, Owen is that same kind of player. So there's no advantage. Owen's never going to look at Missy having a good day and go, man, why is she so happy? Owen is also going to have a good day. So after thinking about it quite a bit, I'm going to lean in Owen's direction for this. And that's only because Missy Gannon has this thing she does sometimes of where she'll play an event and she'll have 2 amazing rounds and 1 kind of round. I am going to say that this second round is a tough one for Missy. I'm giving the win to Owen. The other match here is going to be Ella Hansen versus Holland Handley. I think Holland takes this one. And that leaves our championship between Owen Scoggins and Holland Handley. And for a lot of the same reasons, Owen to me is the kind of player who can really, really get the job done here. And my everything on paper is telling me to take Owen Scoggins in this matchup, but my gut is to take Holland, so I'm taking Holland. So I have Holland Handley winning the Matchplay Championship for the FPO side. Obviously, if any of the other people that I'm competing against are listening to this and you like my picks and want to match them up with me, by all means, unless you're in the Game Basket Discord. You pick something else. I chose these. So now we're going to go ahead and look at the MPO. This is where things get kind of crazy in my mind because our very first matchup is Gannon Burr versus Calvin Heimberg, and I'm immediately met with an incredibly difficult decision here because Gannon Burr is Gannon Burr. Let's be honest, best player in the world. But if we're also being honest, even Gannon at his not best is still one of, if not the best players in the world. So how do I pick Calvin Heimberg over him? Well, I'm kind of looking at the course, the design. I'm looking at Gannon's season. I just think Calvin's going to win this one. I think Calvin's going to be deadly in this match play setup, especially if he kind of lets his personality get out a little bit. Maybe gets under Gannon's skin a little bit. Who knows? I could be disrupting my entire thing here, but I'm picking Calvin. And I would say that this is the matchup that might determine the winner of the Matchplay Championship. But I'm picking Calvin Heimberg. Next up is Matty O versus Ezra Robinson. Now here, listen to this. Matty O went undefeated in the regular season Matchplay events. The vibe he creates, he is, if we're talking about aura, he is max aura on the course. This is first down, Nick Saban, Roll Tide, Matty O at his finest, going up against Ezra Robinson. And I think that Matty O used up the juice. And I'm going with Ezra Robinson in this matchup. I could be wrong here, and I'd be happy to be wrong. I tell you what, if I'm going to be wrong, I want Matty O to win the whole thing. Gosh, I would love that so much. I know so many people out there would love that so much. And I think it would also legitimize how match play can be so much fun compared to like regular tournament play, because anyone can win. You have to be good now. It's not I have to be good over the course of a weekend and I can make mistakes now. It is I have to be good right now. So I like Matty O. I'm going to give it to Ezra Robinson for this matchup. Next up is Niklas Antala versus Ezra Aderhold. I like how Ezra looked in his match with Yuli on his channel, but this is Niklas Antala in the woods. Niklas was an animal in the regular season for the match play events. I'm giving this one to Niklas, even though he probably doesn't have as much experience on this course. The thing is, neither does Ezra. So I'm giving this one to Niklas. And then the last matchup is Chris Dickerson versus Anthony Barella. This one is another tough one because historically, we could all probably agree that Chris Dickerson in the woods is an animal, is a dog, right? And Anthony Barella, if you look at how he performed at New London in the woods, not a great event for Anthony Barella. But But Chris Dickerson has not been on his horse this year the way we are used to seeing Chris Dickerson on his horse. And so I got to give this one to Anthony Barella, who's hopefully had time to sort of separate himself from the Tour Championship, get some rest, and I think he's going to win this matchup. So now we move on. Calvin Heimberg, Ezra Robinson. No questions asked, Calvin Heimberg wins that matchup. Sorry. That's just my personal opinion. Moving on to Nicholas Antala and Anthony Barella. This is the hard one for me, because AB's performance in this round is going to stem heavily on his performance in the first round. And even though I love Nicholas Antala in the woods, and I just said he's an absolute menace, I'm giving this one to AB, because I want to see an AB versus Calvin final. How fun will that be? And if it's not Calvin, it's probably going to be Gannon. So we could either be getting a Gannon AB or a Calvin AB final here. I'm going to go with Calvin Heimberg. I think Calvin Heimberg takes it down at the Hornet's Nest to win the Matchplay Championship to end off our season unofficially. A lot of people would say the season officially ended a week ago or a couple weeks ago. But I think that's going to be what it's going to be. My predictions are Calvin and Holland. I guess that's I just like the fact that they won the Pro Tour Championship, and I'm picking them again. It's definitely not what I tried to do here. But some of these are kind of gut reactions. I match play is so hard to call, and that's why it's going to be so much fun to watch. I would encourage everyone to go watch. If they produce this correctly and they film this the right way, this could be an absolutely electric finish to the year. If they kind of let them lean into their personalities a little bit, it should be a lot of fun to watch, as long as we don't get too much coverage of the group playing for 7th place or 5th place. Don't put the cameras on that group. But hey, listen, what do you think? What are your picks for the Matchplay Championship? Are you even watching? Do you even care about the Matchplay Championship? Let me know in the comment section down below. Who do you think is the most deadly player in this current setup, and who's going to win? And then if you want to answer another fun question, is what player do you really wish would have been in the match play but wasn't? Who would have been fun to watch play in this style but wasn't, a part of these groups? Let me know in the comment section down below. Love to see it. Pretty soon we're going to be diving into some major offseason content, returning hopefully to 2 episodes a week. Took a couple weeks here of going back to just one to sort of get a few things in line, but we're going to be hopefully returning to 2 episodes a week soon, talking about some of that daily content that I was telling you about, and I am going to be lining up very soon here. I'll be sending out some messages today and tomorrow to some people to see if we can have some interviews on the show, to talk to some people who I think are aspiring to make it onto the tour or have made it onto the tour and they've played a few events, want to be touring professionals, and then eventually maybe if we make enough waves out there, ladies and gentlemen, maybe we can get some bigger dogs on the channel. If you're listening to this right now and you're like, man, I have a story to tell that's about professional disc golf and I'd love to be part of it, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Shoot me a DM on Instagram over at Understable Discourse, and let's chat. I'd love to have you on the show, and we can talk about all kind of fun stuff. Let me know why stats and this analysis is something that you really, really enjoy. But let's get into it. But thank you so much for listening. If you could please like the video and leave a subscribe. It's the best way you can support the growth of this channel. And until next time, make sure you are both playing some disc golf and watching some disc golf. This has been Understable Discourse. Talk to you next week.